It was just a regular Tuesday morning in the heart of Los Angeles when the unthinkable happened, a carefully orchestrated crime that would become one of the FBI's most baffling and high-profile unsolved cases. A case that still haunts investigators to this day. But the true shot came not from the execution of the heist itself, but from the shadows that seemed to linger around it. The target? A bank. A seemingly ordinary target just like any other. But inside that ordinary vault lay millions in cash, all belonging to a cartel that had been laying low for years, hiding its dealings behind layers of legitimate businesses. The money wasn't just money, it was a symbol of power, a stepping stone for those who could get their hands on it, and someone did. Welcome to Crime's Court, your ultimate destination for chilling criminal stories. Here we dive into the world of masterminds, unsolved mysteries, and tales of deceit that will keep you on edge. If you crave suspense and shocking revelations, you're in the right place. Subscribe and stay with us. What you're about to hear may leave you questioning the truth itself. The FBI's most wanted, the unsolved case of the $1 million heist. The crime was swift. No alarms, no reports. No trace of the criminals who'd pulled off what seemed to be an impossible task. By the time the police arrived, the vault was empty. Not a single clue was left behind, except for one detail. The stolen cash was never moved from its exact spot. The criminals, whoever they were, had left everything behind in a meticulous, almost bizarre manner. It was as if they were showing the world just how easy it was to rob the cartel itself. But it wasn't the cartel that was left behind. No, it was the FBI's worst nightmare. A seemingly flawless crime that left no suspects, no witnesses, and no trail. The money was gone, but the real question was, who had taken it? How did they know exactly where to strike? What made this heist so perfect? The news hit the headlines like a bombshell. $1 million heist, cartel money vanishes into thin air. It was the kind of story that made its way across the globe. But for every headline, there was a dark truth hidden behind the scenes. The FBI scrambled to find leads. The agents worked day and night, poring over security footage, trying to find something, anything, that could give them a clue as to who was behind this audacious crime. Then, a breakthrough came, or at least they thought it did. A witness had come forward, someone who claimed to have seen a man lingering near the bank the night before the heist. The description was vague, just a tall, thin man in his late 30s, with unkempt hair and a weathered look. The witness didn't see much more, but the tip was enough to get the wheels turning. As the investigation continued, agents combed through hours of footage from the bank's security cameras. What they found would chill them to the bone. There, in the background of one camera shot, was a fleeting figure, so quickly disappearing that it was almost impossible to catch. A figure who appeared to be walking casually into the bank during the night, but at a time when the place should have been closed. Yet the real shock wasn't the figure on the camera. It was the fact that the figure was wearing a uniform, a bank employee uniform, someone from the inside. The case suddenly took a dark turn. If someone on the inside was involved, it meant the heist wasn't just a random crime, it was a setup. The implications were huge. The FBI had to consider the possibility of an inside job. An employee had to be involved, someone with access, knowledge, and enough trust to bypass the security measures. As investigators dug deeper, they found that the person in question was a bank manager named Aaron Bennett, a man who had worked his way up the ranks in the financial world, trusted by the very cartel whose money had been stolen. The more they learned about Aaron, the more unsettling it became. He had access to the vault, was trusted with financial transactions, and had been working in the bank for years without any red flags. On the surface, he was the perfect employee, but what if he wasn't? After questioning Aaron, the FBI got their first shock of the case. He had an alibi, one that checked out. He wasn't at the bank during the heist, but there was something about his demeanor, something about the way he spoke about the robbery that struck the agents as off. There was no fear, no shock, just a calmness that felt unnatural given the circumstances. As the investigation progressed, another layer of complexity unfolded. Aaron Bennett's life wasn't as clean as it appeared. Through a deep dive into his financial records, investigators found transactions linked to a network of individuals with known cartel ties. This revelation was like a key turning in a locked door. Had Aaron been laundering money for the cartel? Was the heist part of a larger plan to siphon off funds for an even bigger operation? The FBI knew they were dealing with something far bigger than just a robbery. It was a case tied to organized crime, greed, betrayal, and now the question of just how deep the corruption went. But despite the growing mountain of evidence pointing toward Aaron's involvement, there was still no direct proof. No one had seen him take the money. The vault was empty. But it wasn't just his fingerprints on the bank's internal documents. It was someone else's too. Months passed, and the FBI hit dead end after dead end. That was until a mysterious phone call came in. The tip came from a source deep within the cartel, someone who had information but wanted anonymity. The call was brief. "You're looking in the wrong place. The man you need is someone you've seen before." The voice on the other end hung up before the agents could get more. But that one line, "someone you've seen before," haunted them. Who was it? What did it mean? After weeks of investigation, the FBI pieced together a shocking connection. Aaron Bennett had been seen meeting with a former cartel associate, a woman named Laura Vega. Laura was known for her ties to a different cartel faction, one that had been wiped out years ago after a series of bloody confrontations. But the twist wasn't just that she was still alive, it was that she had been working with Aaron. In fact, she had been his secret partner in crime. As the pieces came together, the true mastermind of the million-dollar heist emerged. It wasn't Aaron alone, it was Laura Vega, the woman who had been playing a dangerous game behind the scenes. She had been pulling the strings all along, using Aaron as a pawn to execute a perfect crime. The final piece of the puzzle was even more staggering. Laura, it turned out, had been involved in the cartel's financial operations for years. And the heist wasn't about money, it was about power. She had been orchestrating a move to take over the cartel's entire operation from the inside, using the money from the heist to fund her own ambitions. The case was solved, but not in the way the FBI had expected. Aaron was arrested, but Laura remained elusive, slipping through their fingers yet again. She became a ghost, vanishing into thin air, leaving behind only the wreckage of a life built on lies. Despite their best efforts, the FBI never found Laura Vega. She was added to the FBI's most wanted list, a shadow in the criminal underworld who had successfully eluded capture. The million-dollar heist was never fully explained, and the case left lingering questions that would haunt the agents for years to come. Was she the real mastermind behind the cartel's rise to power? And what was her ultimate goal? As months passed, the investigation into the million-dollar heist took the FBI to places they had never expected. They thought the case was as simple as a botched robbery carried out by a lone insider. But the deeper they dug, the more they realized this was not just about money. It was about control, power, and a carefully orchestrated game that spanned years. The cartel's operation, which had seemed dormant for a time, was in fact undergoing a silent revolution. Laura Vega, whom the FBI had long considered just another foot soldier in the criminal network, was playing a much more dangerous game than they had anticipated. While Aaron Bennett was caught in the net of the FBI's investigation, Laura's escape seemed almost too smooth, too perfect. The authorities could not trace her movements, and every lead that pointed to her led to another dead end. In a world where criminals often get too comfortable, Laura proved to be the exception. She moved like a ghost, but it was clear now. Laura Vega wasn't just a thief, she was a strategist. And as the FBI uncovered more, they realized her plan was far more ambitious than any heist. This was a takeover. The cartel, a shadow organization controlling drug trade and illegal operations in the southwestern U.S. for decades, had been dealing with internal strife. Its once powerful factions had been plagued by betrayal, arrests, and government crackdowns. But in the heart of it all was Laura, who had quietly maneuvered her way into a position of authority. Her timing had been flawless. At the peak of the cartel's weakness, she took control of its financial infrastructure, devising a plan to siphon money from its own vault. Through months of covert operations, Laura had set up a series of elaborate accounts and transactions, each one designed to slowly drain the cartel's fortune. She then meticulously orchestrated the heist, ensuring that when the money was moved, it was done so with such precision that no one would notice until it was far too late. But Aaron Bennett, the seemingly innocent bank manager, had played his role in her grand design. A man too easily manipulated by Laura's charms and promises of wealth, he became her pawn in a game much bigger than either of them realized. The $1 million stolen from the bank wasn't just the prize, it was a statement. Laura was coming for the entire cartel, one heist at a time. As the months bled into years, the FBI continued its pursuit of Laura, but each step forward was met with dead ends. They had her name, her face, and a trail of evidence linking her to the heist, but she remained elusive. And with each failed attempt to catch her, the pressure mounted. She was now listed among the FBI's most wanted. The agency had nearly exhausted every lead, but the shadow of Laura Vega seemed impossible to track. Then, an unexpected break came. A young informant who had been working with the cartel came forward with crucial information about Laura's operation. The informant, a low-ranking member of the cartel who had recently been caught in a series of money laundering schemes, had knowledge of Laura's rise to power. He revealed that Laura had used her charm and calculated intelligence to gain control of cartel finances, pulling strings behind the scenes without anyone noticing. The FBI now had a clear picture of Laura's methods and ambitions. But even with this new information, there was still a massive challenge. Laura had covered her tracks too well. She was always one step ahead, anticipating the FBI's moves like a chess player thinking several moves ahead. While the FBI focused on piecing together the puzzle, Laura's ambition grew. With the stolen cartel funds, she had begun expanding her operation, creating new accounts, and laundering money through seemingly legitimate businesses. She was building an empire, one that would not just rival the cartel, it would surpass it. She was no longer content to simply hide in the shadows. Laura knew that to solidify her position, she would need to make a bold move, something that would force the cartel to either accept her as their new leader or risk falling apart. The time for subtlety had passed. She was prepared to take control by force. And then, in the dead of night, a single phone call changed everything. It was a call Laura had been waiting for, the moment when she would solidify her position at the top. Aaron Bennett had been too trusting, too loyal. His ties to Laura and his desperate desire to prove himself had clouded his judgment. But it was not until he received the call that the true extent of the betrayal hit him. Laura had never needed him. He had been useful, but now he was disposable. The FBI had uncovered a chilling detail. The same money that had been stolen from the cartel in the heist was now being funneled into secret accounts linked to the cartel's most dangerous enemies. Laura's plan was in motion. She was ready to take the reins of the cartel once and for all. But Aaron had grown suspicious. The life he had worked for was falling apart, and he had no choice but to speak out, knowing full well that his past involvement would make him an easy target. But it was too late. Laura's influence had already spread far beyond his reach. As Laura's grip on the cartel tightened, the FBI faced one final confrontation. The evidence against her was overwhelming, and the agents knew that this was their last chance to bring her down. The problem wasn't that they lacked the proof, it was that they had underestimated her. She was no ordinary criminal. Laura Vega was a mastermind, a woman who had orchestrated one of the most elaborate criminal takeovers in recent history. And as the FBI closed in on her, Laura made a final move. She disappeared without a trace. It was the perfect escape. In the months following her disappearance, the FBI had no new leads. Laura Vega had vanished from the radar, and the case remained unsolved. Her name became synonymous with the most elusive criminal mastermind the FBI had ever encountered. But then, a cryptic message arrived. It was a note, delivered anonymously to the FBI's headquarters, with a simple phrase scrawled across it: "You've only seen the beginning." It was clear. Laura Vega was still out there, and her game wasn't over. The FBI's hunt for Laura Vega continues, but with each passing day, the mystery of the $1 million heist deepens. Laura's cunning, her ability to manipulate everyone around her, and her talent for staying one step ahead has turned her into a ghost in the system. The cartel, now crumbling under its own weight, may soon find itself at the mercy of a woman who had once been nothing more than a shadow. But one thing is certain, the case of the million-dollar heist is far from over. Laura Vega is still out there, and the question remains, will the FBI ever catch her, or will she continue to elude them? Her legacy a dark reminder of the heist that no one will ever forget. Stay tuned for more on Crimes Court, where we explore the darkest, most chilling criminal stories. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.